by 5.
Drei Gläser.
2. That's no moon.
What's up, everybody? We are live. It is episode 30 of the Hardcore Casual Podcast. He is Jay of F1 Podcast fame. I am Mason of Radio Infamy, and we're switching places. We are the conversation at the table behind you. There we go. I fixed it. Yeah, there we go. Because I was like, that's how it usually is, right? Usually you're on the left, I'm on the right.
Yeah.
Isn't that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Knew it felt weird.
I
Fixed.
told you, like, after you get used to it, it's hard to switch. It really is.
I was like, I knew
feels
something
weird.
felt off. Off. Anyway, we are here. This is a big one. This is a big week for us for the show and the things that we've been excited about. It's been a rough week personally for the two of us. It's been
Dude. Wow.
just
Yeah, man.
it's been a pummeling. It's been a pummeling, but we are happy to be here. Thank you, everybody, for joining, watching, however you're getting a hold of us. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And yeah, we are back in the saddle. So I don't know, before we get into, I mean, obviously the big thing, you can see the title, the big thing that we're going to be talking about this week is 007. But before we kind of delve into 007, do you have any things that you want to get out of the way? Just some housekeeping or any other sort of like mini stories before we dive into the whole like plethora of information and video that we have for 007?
Well, you know, we brought up there's
Hello, Whitney.
Hello, Whitney. We brought up The Expanse last week, and we talked about it quite a bit. And you know, we were struggling to get information about this title, and then we had Gamescom, and they released a little, basically an Environs gameplay trailer. But now we just got Owlcat bleeding at the mouth, not in a Randy Pitchford kind of way, but in a, oh my God, thank you, this is really cool. So they have created some stations and some game areas that were not in the books or the shows, and I knew they were going to have to do that at some point, and that plus that gives them the freedom to develop some of their own canon, which I'm sure James S.A. Corey probably signed off on, and they were probably like, yeah, man, this is great, this is going to be good stuff. But they're starting to, you know, just eke out little pieces of info, nothing crazy, nothing too specific. But if you're following Owlcat either on X or wherever on YouTube, make sure you get some of that new information available to that.
I have to rely on you for my updates on that, because the sort of like the mainstream gaming media doesn't really report on it that much, which is crazy given how excited everybody got whenever they showed it, and everybody's like, this could be the Mass Effect we never got.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the developers of these types of games are probably scared to death of this game, because it looks and it functions well, and it looks smooth. Another game that's getting like, I mean, when I say this, it's going to be an insult to the company putting out this game, and there's no way for it to not sound like that. It's not getting the hype it deserves. I watched a 14-minute gameplay video on Crimson Desert, and that game looks legit, and I'm not going to talk about it tonight. So if you end up watching this episode, and definitely, Mason, you for sure, go out there and check it out. This thing's going to sneak up on people, and I think it's going to have an impact. It looks extremely awesome, and it looks like it plays very well too. So excited about that. Most of my other topics are probably a little bit longer in the tooth to talk about, and you'll probably have your own comments, so I'll save some of those. Anyway, that's kind of all the quick stuff I had.
I have one quick gaming related story that I can touch on, and it's kind of, I don't know how I feel about it. I'm kind of like sad that it's seen this way, but I saw this headline and it says, Capcom says Monster Hunter Wilds failed, but it's PlayStation's fault. So I read this, and basically the long and the short of it, even though it was like the fastest selling, biggest selling game that they had, and by far the biggest and fastest selling Monster Hunter Wilds game that they ever had, Capcom's president basically considered it a failure because it didn't move previous iterations of Monster Hunter. Like, it sold big business for that Monster Hunter, for Monster Hunter Wilds, but they didn't see a big uptick in previously released Monster Hunter games. And I'm like, why would you expect that? Because this is where I'm coming from on that. Because Monster Hunter, but like we've mentioned before, whenever we kind of talked about the game after we got our hands on the game, because this was supposed to be one where they're like, oh, we're really focusing on story, and then there's no story, and what they tried to put in there was just annoying. Like, you're just like, no, just let me fight monsters.
Log in, kill shit.
Yes, there's no incentive to go back and play any of the previous ones because there's no overarching story. Like, the only reason that you would go is if there was like a particular mechanic that maybe they don't employ anymore,
or monster,
or an old monster, or something like that. But that's not going to be the vast majority of people. If there was a story that changed them all together, they kind of referenced how new Resident Evil games will fuel sales of previous Resident Evil games. And it's like, well, yeah, because there's a through line. There's a story that attaches them all together. So I don't know. I was just like kind of disappointed to see that it was regarded that way, given that I do love that game. I love the Monster Hunter games, but the fact that they were basically considering it a failure simply because it did not fuel sales of previous iterations of the game.
And it's funny because, like, my son and a lot of his friends have been going back to play Monster Hunter World, which was the game previous to Monster Hunter Wilds for people that don't Monster Hunter. But they've went back and played quite a bit of it, and I'm sure I will go back to Monster Hunter World. There was so many fights and areas in that game that I love. At some point right now, I'm just, I'm doing other things. So it's one of those things where I'm not, but still, I know I get what he's saying. What's his name? Who is this guy? Sorry, didn't mean to snipe you real quick.
Yeah, nope. You're going to have to cover for some dead air and my horrible mispronunciation of a Japanese name. So his name
is a Japanese guy.
Haruhito Tsujimoto is the Capcom president.
And I think that's important because I think, that's another, it's going to be a Japanese culture thing where they're wanting to create a deepening involvement in the title through the previous titles. So I get that. I understand that. Where he's coming from. I don't think it's a failure in any way, shape, or form. And it's a fantastic game. But we're starting to get a lot of fantastic games. So I think Clair Obscur really upset the apple cart. It probably stopped people playing Monster Hunter Wilds mid-stride.
They're teasing a sequel to Clair Obscur, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. And then, we've gotten a lot of decent titles that have snuck up on people that have been very good.
Even now, just like I haven't played it myself, but it's one that you and I have talked about as far as being interested in. And now we're starting to see reviews of it coming out, people that have gotten a hold of it early and stuff like that. And that's Hell Is Us. And Hell Is Us is one of those like AA games. It's releasing for $50. And it's been getting a ton of praise. Everybody that I've seen, like all the people that I follow that have played it, have all had glowing reviews for it. There's some stuff where it's a little bit janky, but they're like, overall, this is a win. And for $50, can't go wrong.
You should table this for a separate episode, Ben, but we could do a whole episode on boat rocker games that nobody saw coming, that when they hit and just through word of mouth, they basically either A, destroyed a AAA title, or B, really, really upset the sales forecasts for AAA games.
Or, I mean, the most recent one of those that I can remember where it got zero, no big promotion, nothing like that. And then it just blew up because of word of mouth, streamers, this kind of stuff. It was Helldivers 2, that was, Helldivers was well regarded, but not a lot of people played it. I never even played the first one. And
it was a cult following.
Yeah. And then Helldivers 2 came out, which was a risk already because it was a completely different format than the first one. And
yeah,
now
anytime you change your whole format, yeah, you're
and so they're changing the
proposition.
format of an already small game, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean that nobody had any expectation. I mean, to the point that they had to, was it triple? They had to hire a lot
Yeah.
of people. Like they had to rapidly, vastly expand their workforce to keep up with all the stuff that was going on. And still great. We need to get back in there, by the way. We need to jump on that.
And I'll tell you another one. So we had, you know, I'm thinking of Blizzard of way back, and we get Diablo 1, which was fantastic. Diablo 2, which murdered Diablo 1, was absolutely ridiculous good. Diablo 3 was but it was fun to play. Then we get the absolute predatory monetization game, Diablo 4. And you want to talk about upsetting the apple cart. Path of Exile. Path of Exile has murdered Diablo 4 at every possible turn. And in a cruel twist of fate, Diablo 4 launched a new character that's kind of this Amazon druid-ish type character. And what's Path of Exile? They're like, yeah, we can do that. And they just did the new update with the edict, and it's got a character that's literally right off of that, and they're already killing it. So, and that game's not even out yet. It's just in early access, and it'll be free to play when it does come out.
It's this fine balance that so many game developers tip over. Like they jump over that line too far. There's this fine balance where you treat your players right and you respect them. You don't try to, treat them like they're pay pigs or anything like that. And so you put out something like in Helldivers 2 case, it was free on PlayStation, whenever it first launched and all this stuff. So, but you go out there and then you have the stuff. Well, then you kind of develop this loyalty. Then you have some things that can be purchased, not pay to win, not predatory prices, can be purchased, and some of those players will want to support you. Like they had this little like, oh, this will help you guys. Okay, I'll buy that pack. I'll do this. I'll pay $10 or whatever if it helps you guys out. But then so many people just keep going and going and going until you get to something like Diablo or so many other games that we've seen go, like Battlefront 2, whenever that came out. And it just many that just jump way too far into it, where they're just like, okay, now you're an ATM. You're no longer a player that we respect. You're just an ATM.
Well, and it's just like every boomer dad has ever told their firstborn son, you dance with the one that brought you. And basically what I'm saying is these game companies, you need to dance with your fan base, not kill your fan base. And a lot of them don't.
That's an old adage that I use myself. I learned it from good old JR and WWE back in the day. But
dance with the one that brought you.
So we are going to now go into, this will be our first little like watch along like trial here. We're going to try it out. We're going to see how it works. We're going to mute the audio for two reasons. One, we don't want to be copyright struck. We don't want that. We don't want to be anything like that.
Yeah.
And two, I don't know how to play the audio through here. We were trying to get it to work and we couldn't figure it out. So you know what? We're just gonna talk over it. We don't have to worry about getting copyright strikes because they're not going to hear.
If you're listening.
Who?
Yeah. I said StreamYard if you're listening.
Yes, yeah. Make it easy, please. But I will say though that seeing this, it makes me excited. Like I want to rewatch all of the 007 games. So Whitney, I know you're here. So Whitney and I have already watched through all of the Mission Impossible movies, and now we got to watch through all the 007 movies, the Daniel Craig 007 movies.
You're cheapening it. Let me curate a list for you, and I'll keep you away from the stupid ones. But let me curate a list for you, because there are some of the old ones that are so beloved and they still hold up. So, and there's just a few, but yeah,
we'll do. So here's what. Okay, so we'll start here. Let me go ahead and bring this up.
Brother.
Huh? Yeah, we'll bring this up.
The scene.
So this is going to be basically, they called it the first mission. I don't know if it truly is it definitely feels like the first mission given your reduced role as you're the chauffeur. But they said this is the first mission of the game, and it's not going to be the full mission. They've cut some stuff out to spare you some story details and obviously speed it along. But
So,
go ahead.
I was going to say one thing that if you're a super Bond fan that you're going to recognize immediately is that this car is not an Aston Martin. This is a Jaguar.
There will be Martins, though.
And
There will be Aston Martins.
and that's my point is they have put Jaguar in Bond movies before, but always returned to an Aston Martin. And I think this game, being that it's 007 becoming 007, is going to show how he got his love for Aston Martin, and I think that's going to happen in this mission.
I also appreciate your use of the British pronunciation of Jaguar,
Yes.
as opposed to Jaguar.
As we got a nice view of the boot right there.
There you go. Indeed.
Yeah.
So, and as I'll just let this play because this is just a little casual drive. So we'll get a chance to kind of, go over some details and stuff. Let me mute that on my end.
One of the things I wanted to say as we're watching this right here, in so many games, and it's like, okay, you click to go to your next mission, and you're just magically there. So one of the things and that might happen in this.
I was going to say, I think there will be some degree of that for sure as you're globetrotting.
But the fact that we are driving to our first mission, I think is awesome. And I know you brought up something about the HUD.
Yeah.
But this might not have a HUD, man. It might not have a HUD.
So that was one thing I thought about. So later we spoilers, there will be more driving. But later in this mission, there will be another section of driving, and you'll see where it kind of like has a diamond or something that marks the point that you're supposed to be driving toward. Now, this doesn't have that, but it could be for a few reasons. One, like you said, there may just not be a HUD display. Could be a thing where you just hold a button. Could be a thing where there is a HUD display. They just don't want to show it because it's going to get in the way of this.
Yeah.
Or it could also just be that, much like I'm sure it's going to be a lot like Uncharted, and that whenever it would have sections like this,
there's
only one way you can go. You're just going forward, like
which this one did.
Yeah. Like there was a thing that went to the right, but I don't know if that would even be an option. So anyways, as they go into this mission, as we said, James Bond, like Jay mentioned, you're not 007 yet. You're just James Bond. You're some dude that's brash that they basically say he's a bullet that, doesn't have a target. And so you're kind of getting this chance, but you've been told you're the driver. You have these other two agents that are with you, and you are to stay with the car. So you're not Bond, James Bond. You're just James. Stay with the car. So I still do hate the name Last Light. I still hate that, but I am so looking forward to.
I don't like it either because
to this game.
It needs to be a phrase.
Yeah, it doesn't have that same sort of gravitas.
It's die another day. Diamonds are forever. From Russia with love, and then we got the Last Light. Awesome, that's great.
Yeah, like it just doesn't. It doesn't have its own sort of personality that goes along with it. But one thing, speaking of the cars, as we watch this car, they did a lot. So there have been some other creators that had a chance to go to the studio and see some behind closed doors stuff and get some more information. And one of the things that came out is this sense of realism that they intend and authenticity that they want to put in the game. One of those things, and we'll talk about others as well, but one of them is vehicles. So whenever you see a Jaguar, as you said here, with whatever model this is, or when you see an Aston Martin, or when you see an Aston Martin or whatever, they took that car and they took it on a track with microphones, all this stuff, and they recorded the sounds of that car. And they Gran Turismo. Yes. Yeah. So they wanted to get the authentic feel for each of these vehicles. Each of these, they also have like Omega, the watch brand Omega. They have that watch brand. They didn't try to make it some thing. They went with all these like notable James Bond brands or vices or whatever, and they went with that the authentic feel for that. So they really went above and beyond. And one of the things, and we'll kind of see a little bit of it as we go through the playthrough here on this mission. And this is one thing, because it's one of those things that you don't really notice it until you do. And then whenever something happens that makes you notice it, you can't unsee it. And that is, as obviously they're doing a lot of motion capture for this game. So, they always put the crazy suits on these people. They got all the dots on them. and then they go through the motion capture process. Well, one thing that they do is if they are, handling things, they'll usually give them like pool noodles or something like that, some foam representation of this thing, so that if they're like, oh, in this scene, I'm holding a fire extinguisher, so they'll give you like a, something that they'll hold while they're doing the motion capture, but that usually doesn't have any weight. So they don't handle it as though it actually weighs anything. And the last time I can remember noticing this, even though it was a phenomenal game, and that was Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And the thing there was one time they were holding like a solid gold statue, and he was waving it around like it was a stack of Post-it notes. I mean, just, nothing to it, like that thing should weigh like 30 pounds, but they were just waving it around. So here also we should point out while we're doing this. So James Bond sitting by the car, now he sees this bellhop just suspiciously toss some luggage over and throw a cigarette. So now he's
for the record, his mission was to never leave the parking lot, but in typical Bond fashion, he is.
Yes.
And right now he's actually being told on the radio to stay by the car, even though he's telling them he witnessed the bellhop. So this, to me, this whole segment is very Hitman. And of course, the game is developed by IOI that did Hitman. So,
but this
IO Interactive, yeah.
And this is, but in saying that though, this is exactly what we wanted to see. Like we want to see the evolution, and we will see a lot of evolution to that formula here. But this is the core thing that we were so excited about, is to get that Hitman DNA in here, because and this is something that I do want to point out. Let's see if I can hit it. Hold on. So, because it's fast. Okay, boom. Paused it. Because they immediately whiz by this in this demo, and I wanted to make a point that we stopped here, because this is another thing that you had pointed out whenever we kind of talked about in a previous episode. We talked about our wish list items, and this is one of the wish list items right here. Now, how deep it goes, I don't know, but you said specifically like dialogue trees. Well, here we go. We have dialogue trees. Now, granted, it's more of it's not super deep. It's some stuff where you can maybe get a little bit more information or something like that, but it is at least options, dialogue trees that we don't get. And as you see here, one of the things that's grayed out is present press badge. So obviously this is one of the other things that goes to the multitude of ways that you can achieve.
Missed something.
Yeah, this is one of the multitude of ways where you can achieve these things and get through in multiple ways. So you could obviously somehow acquire a press badge in order to get inside to continue following this bellhop. One of the things I also do wonder is if you can get to the the luggage that was tossed over, because I would be curious as to what it was. Like, were they just discarding something, or was that something where they tossed it over so it could be picked up by someone else later? I'm curious if you could actually hit that before you start trailing the bellhop. But
I like the fact that he gets turned down. Like you couldn't just go. I like the fact that he's being stopped here so that he has to start demonstrating improvisation, which is a very Bond-esque skill. And then, you're able to look around. It looks like they have some kind of eagle vision scan thing, which is cool with the open window. So now it's all a matter of walking around, seeing what's at your disposal as far as resources go. So that part, I'm definitely into.
And here you can see it highlighted. So he just did this little like ping. So you can see kind of like highlighted these various sort of things that he's taking note of that he could utilize. So he did this little sort of like ping thing, and then it highlighted that pipe yellow, so like, okay, I can interact with that, I could use that. So here he's looking at a pile of leaves and see if maybe he could use something there. But back to some of the details that they put in here. Speaking of what he's doing right now, I will touch on that, and then I'll get back to the weight. But they mentioned that their objective that they work towards throughout the entirety of the game is anytime you have something like this where you have like something that you need to do, someplace you need to access, or something like that, where you have these points that you have to figure out, that you have at least 5 to 6 ways to accomplish it.
Yeah, which I think is a lesson they obviously learned from Hitman. You look at any Hitman mission, there's And I'm going to pardon the pun. There's 47 ways to do everything in there. Yep. And this was now, some of this to me, this part right here was a little suspect that he wouldn't have got seen hopping over this wall. And I get it, but it's also a game and they've got to make it, functional. So I do like it the way they're doing this.
Yeah, and so back to the weighted situation is basically everything that they handle is weighted. So whenever they were doing the motion capture for whatever they were handling in the game, it's weighted. And just like the vehicles, it's weighted to the actual weight of the item that they are handling. So if they are handling a gun, the weight is the exact model of, like, it's the same gun. Like if they're waving a gun around and they're mocapping that, they're waving around a gun that's weighted to the precise weight of that specific model of gun. And so you don't have that situation where there's a 30-pound, solid gold idol that's being wielded around as though it's a Stanley mug, So and like I said, it's one of those things that you don't usually notice, but then whenever you see something like that, it really does kind of break your immersion a little bit. And it's kind of disappointing. So they are determined to not have those breaks, because obviously there's going to be some stuff here that's a bit over the hold on. Apologize, guys. I had a phone call. I'll get back to that momentarily.
Well, I'd like to get whenever you're ready. Well, I was just going to say from a Bond lore standpoint, there were plenty of houses in the movies, mansions, estates, or whatnot that he had to infiltrate. None of them were this elaborate, but movies and games are two different things. So they're trying to obviously make up for that, but I will say that this is very reminiscent of the estate in From Russia with Love, which is probably my favorite Bond movie. It also had Robert Quinn in it from or Robert Shaw in it from Jaws, that played Quint in Jaws. So excellent role from him as the villain. But as you look around, I mean, this is beautiful. It reminds me of the Paris mission a little bit from Hitman 3. But walking around here, and it's like every single thing in here is interactable. I mean, it's, I don't know what he picked up just a second ago there, but you got somebody over there bent over by the door. He probably could have interacted with that guy and affected some type of impact on his infiltration of this house. But, just look at all the people going about whatever their routine is for this mission. Now, one thing I had a question about is there really wasn't a waypoint for this piece right here, because I got to tell you, and when I play games like this, I always work left to right. I would have taken a left there and not come to this balcony unless the game forced me to the balcony. But so obviously this is a set piece where the bellhop's walking by during the main. It looks like a chess match going on down there. But I do love, like, everybody either sees him or recognizes him or dismisses him in a natural way, and just the facial expressions on the faces of everyone in the mansion. I mean, it's crazy how much detail they've went into when it comes to just the ambience of the location that you are in. So I think that part is cool. Welcome back, Mr. Mason. Do you have any comments on this area?
No, I apologize, guys. It's been a busy week, and that was a call I had to take. I apologize, but you got the dulcet tones of Jay Neal. But I do want to point out the lower left-hand corner of the screen here. You see the battery and the chemical. Did you talk about that already?
I have not. I was actually, my thing was, and for me, dude, this is less about being a game and more about being a Bond fan. I will tell you, I will be approaching this as a Bond fan, not as a game fan. Well, I know that sounds weird because I'm a huge gamer, but
as we get later into this mission, I think we have like a beautiful joining of those two things where like the gamer and the Bond fan, like where those are really, really, really gonna play together. So if you haven't seen this yet, hold on tight, because this is so we've seen some very standard refined Hitman elements. That's what we're seeing here is IO Interactive's Hitman evolution here. So we've jumped. Something's happened. Like this is where we missed the whole build up to this, right? They've just cut
Right,
towards
right before he busts out the window in a 1975 Aston Martin Vantage that they only made 3,500 of. Yeah, didn't really like that scene all that much, but okay.
Yeah. So the real quick. So in the lower left-hand corner that you saw there's a battery and like a chemical symbol.
Yes.
So those are basically the two things that your Bond will have access to some of his gadgets. So some of those will use like battery power, like a taser or something like that, and others will be like something that makes somebody nauseous or sleepy, like you saw as he was trying to get in. And so as you use those different tools, your meter, for each one, whether you use energy or chemicals, will lower, and then throughout levels and throughout the missions, you'll be able to grab those elements to refill those meters. But here's
cool.
one where
I love the minimalistic approach to this game, dude, without crazy bunch of HUD features all over. I just love it.
And I bet there probably is a way where you can get those HUDs if you really need them to support. But I would, because a lot of games will have it where it's like, oh, there's the HUD and there's the less HUD. I don't know. Like a lot of times they will make the HUD the standard, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if they tried to make this mode like the absolute most minimal HUD you can get the standard, because this is the most cinematic. This feels like a movie chase.
Once I learned that, and this is pretty standard for me, but once I learned the controls to a game, like when I play Ghost Recon or even I turn the HUDs off. I want the full cinematic immersion experience. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
for me, this is awesome.
And there's certainly ways to do that as well. There's also like beautiful mergings of the two, like a Red Dead where it only kind of comes up when it's needed or something like that.
Yeah.
I love the way that they're doing this. And this, again, just gives me Uncharted vibes. Like the Uncharted, whenever they would have like these big scenes where there was a chase or something going on, where these massive scenes that look like big budget Hollywood stunt sequences. I mean, this is all about that. And this is IO Interactive's. Have they ever had driving in a game? Because I know they don't have it in Hitman.
Well, I think you have to go back to early Hitman and realize that it wasn't always IO Interactive. So some of their games,
but this is IO Interactive's game engine. I'm just saying, for their first time, if this is their first time, looks amazing.
Yeah, this is great, and I think you nailed it when you were talking about what they did with the cars. And I wouldn't doubt that they probably got a hold of Kaz Yamauchi from Gran Turismo and go, "Hey, man, how do you do your realistic car thing? We need to do it for this James Bond game." Because it sounds like exactly what Kaz did. But dude, this is, and it's a phenomenal driving sequence, and you can see that you've got drift, you've got a car that has understeer if you freaking try to go too fast into a turn. As a car guy, I got to tell you, this is pretty simmy.
And I love, because we've talked about it on the show before, because this used to be a big thing in like especially Need for Speed back in the day, but we see damage. We see damage on this vehicle back in the day, like, you'd have all these licenses for these different vehicle manufacturers, but you would never, like, no matter how many wrecks you got into, you would never see so much as even a scuff on the waxy, shiny paint of that vehicle, because they didn't want to give the impression that their vehicle was weak, or it's like, now I'm glad we're past that. So like you can see damage on the vehicle, looks very cinematic. Like you said, you got the power slides, which are always pulse pounding and crank a lot of energy. So this is where we get to see the evolved gunplay.
So now, I didn't like that part. And I'll tell, and it's just really stupid and very Bondy.
Like, you didn't like this, the part that we're watching right now, or the gunplay?
No. Well, no, when she handed him, I thought for sure she'd hand him a Walther. He got out of his Aston Martin.
Well, we do know that Walther will come to play, because that's one of the bonus options if you pre-order, is that golden Walther. So we know that Walther will come into play.
But he just got handed what looked like a Glock 40. So yeah, I wish he would have got
it's
handed.
Also revealed.
That's really stupid. I get it. I mean, that's dumb. But
no,
I think
there actually is a reason for it, though, because as we come to find out later in this mission, you find out that you are working for different agencies. She is not with MI6.
Yeah. Yeah, she's DGSC, which is the actual real life, British Secret Service, type of deal.
So I think that's the reason, is because that was her service weapon. And, I think his will likely be a Walther. So here we have the evolved gameplay. So if you've played...
Well, he's not even supposed to be here right now. So,
yeah. If you've played Hitman, you know how... I mean, it was serviceable.
Yeah.
But you didn't want to get into a firefight.
There was a 98% chance if you were in this firefight right here in Hitman 3, you were going to die.
Yeah.
Your mission was going to end. Oh, dude, we got to talk.
Here we go.
The intuitive melee is without a doubt my favorite thing.
Yeah, we can pause it right here.
And I'm not even a big on melee. I'd rather shoot him, but yeah, he stole the gun from the guy.
Yeah,
because his was out.
So this breaks into a couple of things, and this is one thing that you specifically mentioned in one of the previous episodes, where we were so impressed with the trailer, the cinematic trailer that we saw, and we speculated on what it might be like, the things that we wanted to see. And one of the things that you pointed out, where we kind of talked about the things that would service 007 well from the Hitman DNA, and so far all those things are carrying over. All the things that we wanted, that we thought this would be great, those things are there. But one of the things that you pointed out was that Hitman is very calculated. The whole thing about Hitman is, as much as you can, plan it out. You, like, to the point that in Hitman you can actually say, I want this sniper rifle in the suitcase on that bell tower, and you can plant things. Whereas 007 is more fly by the seat of his pants, by the skin of his teeth. And so you wanted to have this sort of just make use of whatever you have around you, and boom, we have it. Yeah. He's stealing weapons. We'll see even crazier stuff later in this video. But yeah, we got to see that. Did you have anything you wanted to add to it as far as...
No, man. You nailed it. But I really want to hit up when we talk about ballistics and the way these, of course, we're not getting to hear it, but every shotgun blast, every pistol shot, every 3-round burst on an SMG, it all sounds legit. It's very punchy.
Love that.
One thing, I love that piece right here. And then I like this part right here. And then there was something I wanted to say before we even got to this part.
You want me to pause it?
But sure. So okay. I know there's the ADD, HD, OCD crowd's going to go nuts because the first part of that mission was very slow, very calculated, but it was also very James Bond. And one thing I mentioned to Mason last night via text message was that I love the deliberate slowness to the first part, so that when we get to this part, it pops and it's very cinematic, and it's a James Bond movie, and it's got his core and his essence. And this is where it ceased being Hitman and became it. And I think that was part of IOI's, probably their plan, was like, we're showing you our DNA and then how we've evolved it. Which I think is a really cool thing.
I mean, this is not just an evolution. This is a quantum leap from their Hitman stuff. This gunplay, and even then, like the CQC stuff that you would get into in Hitman was very brief. It was like, oh, boom, boom, crank, and that's it, right? Whereas here, he's stripping weapons. We've got, he had him push somebody off. Here we had him like push off the cliff with somebody, landing on top of them. Yeah, like the level of interaction there is crazy. The running and gunning is just not something that you can do in Hitman. Like, you can take cover, you can do all that, but it doesn't chain together like this. It just does not work.
And you're about to see him run out of ammo in this assault rifle and do something you've probably never seen in a game. By the way, your pause screen timing right there was legit.
Yeah, I was saying that too. That's a great one, dude.
Yeah, nice job.
Also, I wanted to touch on one thing, because you and the game director, who's also the president of IOI, the head guy there, he's the bald guy that introduces. I can't think of his name. It's very
Darren Shakar.
Or no, Hannick, something like what? I don't know. He's the bald guy. Okay. But anyway, he said, the way he put it was that it breathes. The game breathes. So
Yeah,
it's
that's a
basically
great example.
basically the same thing you're saying, where you have moments where, okay, now we can take a breath. Now we gain context. Now we get some story beats. Now we learn, and then there's times when it's this and stuff's blowing up, and you're jumping over railings, and you're landing on top of people. Stuff has gone wrong, and this was the sequence that I love. Also, this was one before we got to this point where he's just like shooting at people on, like, the gamer in us. We all know it. Anytime we see a red barrel in a video game, we know what that red
Yeah.
barrel does. We know. So whenever he's like shooting at the people that are like on the railing that are above these red tanks, it's just like, just shoot the tank. Just shoot the tank. And
Yeah.
finally he did. Finally he did. All right, let me get that playing. There we go. So we get the beautiful whole thing blowing up. Excuse me about that. So we got the very cinematic car explosion after 5 shots.
There he threw the rifle.
And I do love that once you're out of bullets,
Yeah.
that you can use your rifles as like a distraction or something like that, or as a melee weapon. That's great.
And then just the
Look,
intuitive
like
slide
bullet
across
time
the
thing
head
right
to hit
there.
the other guy.
Yeah, we got some like slow motion focus. Also, speaking of details, so one of the things that we pointed out whenever we talked about this previously, and we'd watched the first trailer, and we had made mention of the scar on James Bond's cheek.
Yeah.
And I had pointed out, we're like, this will be our first time seeing a scarred James Bond. What is that? Does that come into play? Does anybody ask him about it? Maybe not quite to the Joker level of like, you want to know I got these scars, but I don't know. It's just an interesting little piece to it. And obviously there's a story behind that scar, but that is actually yet another piece of dedication to authenticity that IOI has, because Sir Ian Fleming, way back in the day, had a painting commissioned where he worked with the artist to make a painting in the likeness of James Bond as Ian Fleming had in his head.
Yeah.
And so they did this painting, and in that painting there was that scar on James Bond's cheek. Like, Ian Fleming specifically had that scar in mind, so they put it on their James Bond. And so here we have, this is obviously like super Mission Impossible vibes. This is a Tom Cruise wet dream right here. Tom Cruise would want to do this. He'd want to do it for real, and he'd want to do it every day for 4 months.
Yeah.
Until it was perfect. But
And he'd want all the other actors that were in the scene with him up there doing it with him.
Yes. So yeah, like, again, just the level of set pieces that we're going to see here. We're getting just insane here. This is one thing that does crack me up, though. So you obviously just had this massive rush to get on. You just had a gunfight on top of this plane. You just pulled somebody out of this manhole to throw them up, and now you're in here, and everybody's just like, yeah. So what are we doing? We landed by 7? Yeah. You want to get some food? Like, no, like everybody's just like, just chill. Like, nothing happened, but very video game. Very video game.
They wouldn't have heard anything on the roof of that plane. That it would have been so loud. That would have been, but still, I get your point. I always hated that in other games when you're like in one area that the next area heard what you were doing, and you walk in there and they're all like, action.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they were on pause until you came through the door.
Yeah. And here we go.
This is a cool piece right here.
So in this, they actually talk about it in, or I actually had someone talk about it in, I believe it was Luke Stevens when I was watching him. So you're basically able to hack this with your watch. So he's hacked the plane, and he's controlling the banking. So he's saying, oh, I want it to bank this way. I want it to bank this way. So he's actually voluntarily, he's using those. They're not just obstacles that he's avoiding, these crates. He's voluntarily utilizing those crates. He's like, oh, there's somebody there. Let's bank this way so that the crates hit them. So you're in control whenever you hack it. So that'll be a thing that will be utilized at multiple points throughout the game, is this hacking of technology and you being able to control it to some degree. But yeah, again, this all screams like just this mix of Mission Impossible and 007 and the best of of video games right here.
This is
and-
great too. This whole scene.
Yeah, the mission objective now is get a parachute. You're in midair, find a parachute. Dude, this is going to be and this is the first mission. So if they keep this level of if they have 3, 4, maybe even 5 massive set pieces like this throughout the course of this game, dude. Like just the replayability of just wanting to have that sort of adrenaline, dump again would just be great to like kind of go through these like I keep bringing up the Uncharted set pieces, how those never get old.
Yeah, because I'd really like multiple ways. I'd like to do one where I'm just not James Bond, just very American, just walking up, shooting shit, walking in there.
Yep. And there we go.
Yeah.
So that is, and then there will be a second part here where we can get a little bit more detail and see a little bit more. So there's the actor. There is our James Bond, Patrick Gibson. So there's the bald guy. That's the guy I believe that said it breathes whenever he mentioned the game. So let's go on here. There we go. All right. So here we have James Bond at this party and looking very, very cool and confident. Oh, that's another thing as well. The decision to make it modern day, for whatever reason, they had apparently gotten some pushback on that, and they gave their reasoning for it, and I'm like, well, that's the reason I assumed. It just seems natural. And they said, well, every James Bond property has always been a product of its time.
Modern. Yes.
Yeah, it's always been if it was made in the 1950s, it was the 1950s. If it's made in the 70s, it's the 70s. Like it's always been a product of its time, and they saw no reason to change that. And so I'm all I was like, that's just so I never thought like, oh, this should be this era because it's never been that way. It's never been that way. It's always been modern. The only time that they did anything like that was a game that you had mentioned was whenever they did the From Russia with Love game, but obviously that was because it was
in From Russia Love.
Yeah.
Which was way that was obviously the 60s.
Okay, here we go. So once again, we have dialogue trees. You have dialogue choices.
A lot of people don't realize, even though Daniel Craig was in the last 4 or 5 movies, Casino Royale was actually Ian Fleming's first James Bond book in the chronology. And obviously,
so it was the first one chronologically, but wasn't the first one that he wrote?
It was the first one that he wrote, and it was chronologically.
Okay.
He wrote them in order, but yeah.
See, I've never read the 007 books. I've never read any of the actual Ian Fleming novels.
They're really good.
And so here we go. We can kind of see them sort of showing various ways that you can accomplish a particular task. So he's found a camera. Each of these and each of those things that we just saw, he found a camera, but he found them in different areas. One was in a bag, one was on a seat, that kind of thing. So there will always be multiple ways to accomplish the various tasks. And another thing that's like a carryover from Hitman, and I think it's a wise carryover, is this is kind of like a compromise between the Hitman and the still out there 007, but still more grounded than Hitman. So in Hitman, you knock somebody over the back of the head, steal their clothes, do nothing about your face, and nobody can recognize who you are, right? That's your master of disguise. Except there will always be people that would be able to see, be able to know that you weren't who you said you were. Here, instead of like taking someone's clothes, and who knows, there might be times where you do, but in what they're showing us here, it's their bluffing system where you just walk up and you can bluff people, which they'll do here, where he basically pretends to be like museum security and tries to direct people towards a particular target. But there will always be some other people that can't be bluffed. So just like in Hitman, where you try to dress like a waiter, and then you go to you can't walk past the butler in that suit because the butler knows all the waiters and he knows you're not a waiter. So just like here, there's people that you can bluff, but there will be people that will be highlighted and called out that you won't be able to bluff because they, maybe if you're trying to masquerade as museum security and you're trying to bluff your way into making them think you're museum security, this guy knows all the security people. He knows you're not museum security. So that sort of DNA, but more refined, of Master of Disguise to bluffing system still comes across, and I think it makes sense.
Also, a big Hitman callback is the fact that they showed you doing the cameraman angle, which was a callback to the Marrakesh mission in Hitman 3, where you sneak in with the press team.
And that was one of the best missions they had too, by the way.
Oh my God, man. Yeah. Was it a bull that you dropped from the ceiling?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
That was fantastic.
And
I remember laughing my butt off.
And even here we've seen, I mean, just throughout this whole thing, we also see that where there's clearly things where they're okay. So here we go, boom, there you go. So you got this thing, and we see multiple ways, and they'll show multiple ways of distracting these people or whatever to get through here. That's what we're going to see here. It's playing the same sequence, and you're going to do it different ways. But that's another thing where we have the DNA of Hitman, and it gets carried over to here where for particular objectives, there's going to be things like we said, 5 to 6 ways at least to accomplish that objective. Okay, find a camera. Okay, I found the camera, whatever. But on top of that, there's just going to be all this other stuff that you're still going to be able to play with. It's not necessarily there because it's going to be something that they intended for you to utilize to accomplish an objective. It's just going to be there because they're like, let's see what they can do with it. And I mean, we'll see some of that stuff here, but there's going to be a lot of that stuff at play here. And I would be shocked, and this is another thing that we talked about before, if they did not have a similar system to Hitman where you will replay these missions in a non-campaign related thing where you have different missions that get brought out that you'll have to accomplish, but it'll be the same scenario. So here we go. He's now been busted. He's gotten caught, can't fake his way out of it, so we get some CQC, which was way better than Hitman. And now here we go. We got a little bit of Sleeping Dogs. So this reminded me of Sleeping Dogs, where now you're utilizing the environment. So he's taking people, he just sent them through doors. So that environmental interaction that Sleeping Dogs has, that a bit of that DNA is here. So he's swinging pool cues. He's about to throw billiard balls. I mean, I love this. I love this.
Yeah, so it actually reminded me of a game that was actually shit, but had really great hand-to-hand mechanics, which was Bourne Identity, oddly enough.
I never played that game.
Yeah, so the hand-to-hand was right from the Matt Damon movies. The rest of the game, terrible.
Awful.
But man, you loved doing you absolutely loved getting into like you would just do it on purpose.
And
they also trying to hide.
They also pointed out here, so now they're talking about the weapons, because they just pointed out unlike Hitman, where you could always employ weapons, unless there's certain missions where you couldn't do that, but you could always employ weapons. Maybe you got some demerits or whatever. But here they basically mentioned like, hey, whenever there's no other way, or there is clearly intent to kill Bond, they will then issue a license to kill. So basically implying that you will have to restrain yourself until you are given permission to kill people. And then you can start busting out some of the more lethal tools. So we've seen
like in Splinter Cell when you get your 5th freedom card, which is the right to kill.
And here we go. We've seen some explosive, like some mines. You got to see a laser from the watch used to blind somebody. There used to drop the chandelier. We're seeing a bunch of different methods of mayhem here. So again, that bullet time sort of like slowed down focus mode. That's going to be fun. Okay, there we go. Just threw something at the guy. Like I'm so excited for this, because it's also, I think it's going to scratch the Hitman itch as well. It's not one of these things where, let's say they make this game and then people are going to be like, man, you know what? I'm missing Hitman though. I don't think you're going to. I think this is going to scratch that itch for Hitman as well. Yeah. I mean,
and it's for me too. I know I bring this game up. We did a whole part of an episode on it, but very Alpha Protocol-ish. It really is in a lot of ways.
Well, and that was the game that we were looking at whenever you made reference to like the dialogue trees and that kind of thing. Was you kind of wanted to see them bring some of that kind of stuff to it, and we'll see if they do to the extent that you mentioned in there, where you'd mentioned like depending on your sort of like your class or your rank
Background.
or something. Yeah. So I do wonder. I do wonder if how deep that goes. But there we go, guys. That's the PlayStation State of Play bit that they did. This extended gameplay trailer, and then going into some of the details of it as well. I am so excited for this game. March 27th cannot get here soon enough.
Yeah, I've been waiting on this for a long time. I've been doing this retro game loop lately, and I downloaded a bunch of free emulators and found the ROMs and found the Quantum of Solace collector's edition for PS2 or 3, I think, which was probably one of the last great Bond games. It has Daniel Craig in it and the whole bit, and I'm playing From Russia with Love with Sean Connery, which is great. And it has driving sequences in it, unlike Quantum of Solace. But yeah, dude, absolutely looking forward to this game. And it's weird because as a Bond fan, I'm into it for the Bond piece, but there's just never been a game like Alpha Protocol, and this looks like most Bond games are just straight up action game, no skill base, no. Here's some points for your perks to make yourself better. So this is feels like more of an action RPG, because I'm betting we're going to get skill points for all those little meters that are down at the bottom of the screen. And I'm also betting you won't be able to max them all out.
Yeah, you're going to make some hard choices.
You're going to have to create what will become your repertoire as Bond. So.
Well, and I'm also I'm curious to see, like, I'm very interested in the narrative that they go with here. So Luke Stevens mentioned, they didn't outright say it, but they did mention that there would be hints at the Bond that you become. So obviously in this one, if you go back and I highly recommend going and looking and watching the trailer or the gameplay portion on its own. You get to hear the audio and you get to hear the voice of Bond, but he's much more kind of jokey, I mean, not quite Deadpool level, but he's lighthearted,
Yeah.
he's far less serious, and
he hasn't been jaded or broken by the world yet.
Yeah, but they implied when Luke was talking to them that will come, and you will begin to see peaks of that come through. And they didn't explain what happens. We don't know if it's a personal tragedy or something like that happens that will sort of give him the scar on his psyche, just like the scar on his cheek that makes him Bond, and loses kind of that optimistic glint in his eye. And we'll see all that. I'm very excited to see their version of James Bond, since we're seeing him from inception to whatever, and we don't even know. Like, obviously this is a first outing with the hope of more, and from what I've seen here, I don't think there's any risk, barring some Cyberpunk 2077 level launch day mishap. I don't see any way that this game is not a massive day one success.
Well, yeah, and the thing is too, people could say, well, they blew their load early with the demo, but I think what they did was show us we've got a working game. It is a functional working game. You weren't seeing a cinematic here; you were seeing actual gameplay.
Well, and also it was the first mission. They didn't blow their load. That's the first mission.
Yeah.
So I imagine, since that's their first mission, I imagine that there will be at least 2 other huge set piece things like that plane and that whole thing. Something to anchor the first act, the middle act, and the third act. There may be more, but I suspect there will be at least 3 massive set piece scenes and scenarios like that. But based off of what we've seen, this is what we thought we were going to get the day after. Like, whenever it first happened, we first saw that first trailer, and it was reported like, oh, they're going to be, at this other thing, we're going to get to see the gameplay, and we didn't get it, so we didn't get to do that that update. But this is what we thought we were going to see. Now that we've seen this, I was already confident. I already had a lot of faith that IOI was going to give us something that was going to be fun, exciting. But dude, I don't know if I could be any more excited for this game than I.
Oh yeah, I'm
I
as
am now
excited for this as I am for the Expanse, and I love the Expanse. But I've been a Bond fan since I was this tall. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, man.
Well, and they're also they're going to be different feels, right? Like I don't think either of these games is going to drink the other's milkshake, as it were, right? Like because James Bond is obviously it's all about action, and we're now going to get those Hitman elements. The Expanse, what we're hoping it's going to be, everything that they've shown us, it seems like it's going to be that sort of Mass Effect thing. I think these are going to be. I don't think they have to worry about butting into each other. I think these are going to be independently very successful games. Now, the Owlcat, this is a big risk for them because obviously I'd never heard you were very familiar with them before from other games they'd made. I'm not a PC gamer, so I'd never heard of them before that, and I'm very excited. So this is more exposure than they've ever had before.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And they've got a lot of.
They're putting themselves out there on the limb that they don't want to break, for sure. All their games before this are turn-based. They're literally D&D on a video game. So you got a Pathfinder and you've got Warhammer Rogue Trader. And so for them to make an actual action game, third-person over-the-shoulder Mass Effect style game, I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do with this. But right now, just like this Bond game, every indication, and here's the thing, they don't have to go overboard.
Mm-hmm.
That franchise is already so well beloved. All you need to do, give us the effing suits, give us the ships, give us the locations from the show, and give us a bunch of people with question marks over their head that tell us where we need to go and what we need to do. And don't mess that part up. That's all they need to do.
Yeah, but I have no doubt that they're going to deliver. I have no doubt that IOI is going to deliver. And this is one thing that does make me very happy, again, with IOI and 007, is it is September. This game is scheduled to release in March. Now, granted, it could always get pushed back. That's certainly a possibility. But at this point of a game's development, usually if something was catastrophically wrong, we would begin to hear it.
Yeah, we would see it.
So catastrophically wrong, at least we know that is not the case. Now, granted, Cyberpunk 2077, now we did get reports of crunch, and also, of course, that was also developed during the pandemic as well. Yes. So there were a lot of things at play there.
They got screwed with their pants on that one for sure.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there have been no such leaks from IOI. Yeah. There have been no reports of employee dissatisfaction or anything crazy going wrong. Everything that we've seen has been positive. I'm excited. I'm very excited, and I don't know. I think that's about all I have to say. Is just that we've seen a lot, and it's got almost everything that we had on our wish list.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm looking forward to it, man.
All right. Well, that is the bulk of our show. So now. I know that did you have any other game things, or did you want to jump into like a few entertainment stories?
I did. I wanted to address Gears of War Reloaded because I got to play it.
Oh.
So there's a bunch of games that are on my plate that I really wanted to play, and I just either haven't had the time or the resources to get involved in. One of them was Metal Gear. I haven't got to play that yet. But the release of that game has forced me back into some older Metal Gear games, so I've been enjoying those lately. But anyway, I digress. Gears of War.
We'll have to do some co-op.
So, yes, we do, because
co-op campaigns.
I want to see if you remember it the way I remember it, and it hasn't been that long ago. I mean, somebody super young would be like, "Dude, that was 10 years ago," but 10 years ago to me is like yesterday. So I loaded it up, and I was immediately horrible. I think I got killed like 3 or 4 times. And I was like, okay, I can't play on the difficulty I used to play on. So I lowered it a little bit.
I do remember the last time that I played it, like whenever you did the little like the scramble run, it felt like steering a Buick.
Yeah. And so that was my first piece of feedback. It now feels like you're steering a Bluebird bus, or at least it does to me. And the screen shake, which you can turn off, and I get it. The guys at IGN talked about, like, we turned that off after like 5 minutes. But to me, that's an immersion breaker, because when you run like that, having done it from experience, not in a Gears of, obviously in a Gears of, more in a military setting than a Gears of War setting, but that's how you feel. That's how it feels like the whole world's doing this, right? But it just feels so much more pronounced.
Well, also, we couldn't turn it off back then. So that's one of the things where I wouldn't want to turn it off now. You know?
Right. So I'm dealing with it. But I loved it, man. Don't get me wrong. But the other piece was, and if you watch my Twitch stream on it, which I think I published, there were so many times I died just trying to pull off a chainsaw execution. And I don't remember it being that hard. I remember walking up to a guy, holding down on the B button on an Xbox controller, and then sawing through the guy. But now you got to fire the chainsaw up a little bit before you walk up there.
Got a little bit of lead time.
Yeah, it's almost like a minigun where you gotta spool it up. But and it doesn't. It's really, there's some jank. Of course, there was before, but there's some definite jank in getting that thing to land where you do the chainsaw animation. But yeah, like 4 of my deaths were straight up chainsaw execution attempts that failed. But
I also remember the last time I played, again, this wasn't this re-release thing. It was one of the, like, what are the Gears of War
Ultimate
4
Edition.
or 5 or something.
Yeah,
was what I got. But anyways, I last time I played, I realized how, maybe it was the Ultimate Edition. Anyways, I realized how, like, whenever you snap to a wall, you snap hard to that wall. Like, you snap hard.
That was basically them saying we invented locked cover, and we want you to know it.
Yeah,
that has not changed, bro. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
I'm like, can I get out of this
into
cover?
that wall?
I kept like pulling back to get out. I'm like, let me out of the fucking cover, man.
Yeah, it slams you into it and it holds you there.
Yeah,
it does not want to let you go.
There were certain things that were just straight up muscle memory, and I haven't played that game forever, obviously. But like, as soon as I saw the little Gears of War symbol somewhere, I'm like, oh, there's a pair of cog tags laying around somewhere. And so I was on the cog tag hunt.
Up.
Yeah. So, but anyway, man, I want to tell you, I think you'll like it. It's legit, and of course, the story.
Did they update the textures? Or
was it? Yeah.
Oh, they did. Oh, good.
Yeah, man. It's Unreal Engine 5 looking shit. It looks good. It looks good.
So it's not just a remastered. It's like way
it's
more
a remake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah, I think you're gonna dig it. But like, the story will grab you right from, like, and I'd forgotten some of the main story. Like, I forgot that Marcus Phoenix started out in jail.
That's one of the few things I do remember, and I believe it starts off like like you start off as him being broken out, right? Like, everything's going crazy.
Yeah,
they basically throw him a gun, right?
No, Dominic comes up to his cell and he's like, "Hey, man, let's go. Here's your shit.
Yeah,
the world's gone to hell. We're all dying." That I'm paraphrasing, but then you get out of jail and
not by much.
You meet the colonel and he's like, what the hell are you doing here? I don't want you around. He's like, man, you need all the help you can get. And then you get assigned to that initial squad, and then you get to use the Hammer of Dawn within the first half hour, which is awesome. And then it's really good. But I was really upset about one thing. Horde mode is not with the initial launch.
They're
talking about adding it as DLC, but it does have all the old standard multiplayer modes. But still, dude, no horde mode, because I was dying to get like you and Rob and like whoever else and doing like a 50 wave horde mode. There's no better feeling than finishing one of those. Yeah,
dude, the horde, so many.
Oh man,
late nights, sleepless nights spent on horde mode. That was the first game I can recall that really did the thing where it's like, okay, I'll do one more round, guys, and then I really got to go to bed. Like, and then of course it's 6:30 a.m. and you're like, oh my God, I have to be at work in like an hour.
Dude, that was the only noise complaint I ever got when I first moved here, and I lived at an apartment complex, so I don't want to mention them because I got a noise complaint. But was me and Sarver and Stormer and Stormer's buddy, and we finished hard mode on the hardest difficulty, whatever that's called. And it was like 3:30 in the morning. But you'd have thought we just won the Super Bowl. I mean, we were out on the balcony. Yeah, I mean, it was insane. We had worked my hands were worn out. I don't think I gamed for a week. But yeah, just an insane celebration when we finished that mode. So
yeah, horde mode is legendary, and obviously one of those things like often imitated, never duplicated. Where everybody has like been chasing that dragon, but nobody's ever quite captured. Some have gotten close, some have gotten very close, but nobody's ever captured that feel.
You look at it. We just got done this weekend playing the Summit on the Division 2, which is basically their version of a horde mode, except you're going to the horde instead of the horde coming to you.
And you don't have the ability to like set up obstacles and stuff like that.
And even I will say, as much fun as we had, and dude, I had a blast playing that with you guys. That's nowhere close to Gears horde mode.
Horde mode was also the thing where, it would just be pulse pounding, where there was like, you always got so close. You were always so convinced you were going to die. And then there's always a thing where like you would hear, like there would always be the big bad, where like you would hear it coming. You're like, oh God, it's Rom or whatever, and here they come. And, oh gosh, yeah. The sheer terror that you would have at 3 a.m. So good. So good.
Every fifth wave was a boss wave, but you didn't know which boss was coming. It's like, who are we getting? Are we set up to handle this guy?
Yep.
And
then whoever your least favorite was, there'd be sometimes that you got that person 2-3 times in a row. You're like, oh my God, not again. So yeah.
And everybody on your team had a kryptonite enemy. Like everybody, like I realized I didn't play with you and I played it with other people at the time, but every one of us had a kryptonite enemy where you'd go like, you're like, dude, again, and it was one of those things. So it was kind of cool. I really love that mode. I hope they bring it back.
I also love that all of their weapons, or at least the vast majority of them, man, they all packed a punch. Like whenever you had like a machine gun, you felt like you were like really slicing them up with that. The shotguns were nasty. Like they all felt good. Everything in that game was exaggerated to a point that just felt good. Like, it's like, it's way over exaggerated, but man, that's what you wanted. Everything from even the size of the people's, like all the characters are just these exaggerated art style. Everything's like huge. You have these boots on that would weigh like 120 pounds a piece if they were trying to be imitated in real life.
Yeah.
Everything was so good. But yeah, well, I'm glad that it's meeting or exceeding your expectations so far. But yeah, the horde mode, that'll be interesting whenever they release that and see what they do with it and see if it holds. See if they've done it justice.
But yeah, man, if you end up watching this episode and you have Game Pass and you haven't tried it yet, well, that's on you, because you could have been playing it for free. And for everybody else, I know it's not a full price title. You can get it for like $40, I think. But yeah, it's well worth it, especially if you're on PlayStation and you never got Gears before.
Yeah. Now we can all be friends. So yeah, get Gears. Well worth it. Again, like we've said, Gears was like you just said, that's where we got cover-based shooting. That was the thing that made it, and that was Cliff Blazinski, Cliffy B, and he got inspired to do that playing paintball, and doing the cover-based shooting, and man, that has transformed games ever since. Now most shooting games, there's a couple of exceptions, but the overwhelming majority of shooting games have a cover mechanic, whereas prior to that game, you just crouched and then you eased out, use the D-pad to ease out and take shots and then move back. You weren't leaning or popping up,
Right.
you were doing it. That was the first where you snapped to it and you moved in relation to the wall.
Yeah. And you look at everything after that, even Mass Effect ended up using snap in cover shoot, which was great, especially if you were one of those guys that, like me, that I played as a Vanguard. So being able to be locked into cover when I pulled up the radials to get the power situation set up, yeah, loved that part of the game.
Yep. So glad to hear that it's so far meeting expectations. We'll see what Horde
Yeah.
mode does. Any other gaming tidbits?
I don't have any more. Everything else I got left is TV.
All right. Well, let's move on to. Well, we got the one. You want to do the one movie? No, I guess that one is TV too. Because is it going to be a show or a movie? The Amazon.
What are you talking about?
So,
oh no,
I guess
it's going to be a show.
Okay. I guess we'll go into that one. So you notified me before I saw the headlines that Sophie Turner, is that her name? Sophie Turner?
Yes.
Is officially Lara Croft.
Yeah, aka Sansa Stark, aka Darth Sansa from season 8. But yes, she is going to be playing the lady Lara Croft in the Tomb Raider Amazon show. And you and I both are. I know we're both looking forward to it, but we both have our concerns. My chief concern being, and yours too, I think, being that Sophie Turner, while certainly a smoke show and definitely capable of pulling off the attitude of a Lara Croft, she's not really done a lot of action roles outside of playing Jean Grey in X-Men Apocalypse.
Yeah, and there's not much to do there except this. Yeah. But I'm not nearly as worried. I'm not nearly as worried about that because, like you said, she is a great actor, and I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt on her ability to do the action sequences, stuff like that. She's young. I'm sure she can be in incredible shape. So I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt on that one. I'm not nearly as concerned about that as much as I am just Amazon's judgment. Like sometimes Amazon will put out something great, but more often than not, they put out garbage. And I don't know, like some of the things that they've been doing with Lara Croft in recent years, it's just not good. Like the Netflix had that animated thing that they did that was awful.
Yeah, I know it's on there. I've never seen it.
Don't bother. I mean, because they basically try to turn her into a conservationist. Where it's like this, like they didn't want her. I think that is it. The Netflix one where they actually removed the phrase Tomb Raider from it and they called it Lara Croft because they didn't want her to actually raid tombs. So there was let me see if Tomb Raider. Let's see if Netflix did that. Okay, so no, they called it Tomb Raider: The Legend of Lara Croft. I know there was some property where they were even trying to steer it away from calling it Tomb Raider because, like, well, we don't want that to be her identity. Like, that's her identity. She's a Tomb Raider. Yeah,
that's what she does. That's what she's known for.
Yeah, she's not Indiana Jones. She doesn't want things.
She used to have a decent set of assets, and she doesn't have the same set of assets anymore. But still, she's very skilled.
Yes, but yeah, like she's not Indiana Jones. She doesn't want to put things in a museum. She raids tombs, and she does so for profit, and she has made a lot of money doing so.
Yes.
So, don't change it. Don't try to if you're gonna make something, and you want to make an action show about a female archaeologist that is there to conserve cultures, then make that show and. Name her Daria or something well, who cares? Yeah. Make that show. Just don't make it Lara Croft because that's not what she does. So we'll see. Yeah. I'm curious to see what information comes out as we get more. But my primary reservation right now is Amazon and their idea for a direction for it, because I also fear Amazon's direction for 007.
Yeah, me too. I'm worried about that big time, but.
Because we have this, what's going to be clearly, I have full confidence will be an amazing 007 property in IOI's 007 First Light, despite the horrible name. And then in the unknown in the Amazon ether of their upcoming 007 projects.
Yeah.
I'm anxious. I mean, we know that the reason that they haven't produced anything yet is because of them butting heads with the broccoli lady that has been
Chevy Broccoli.
Yeah, and they had to basically buy her out, and the guy buy them out so they could do what they wanted to do with it, which makes me hesitant.
Yeah, that worries me. Just the fact that they had to say we want to do what we want to do with it. What would be cool is if they hired, and I would be behind this. Oddly enough, hire Patrick Gibson.
Yeah, make it connected.
Keep the continuity going. and increase your marketability tenfold, man. So
That
that would be great.
That is an odd one. I do. This is one of those things where you come into the confusing aspects of like how licensing works, where it's like, so we have the video game license, but then we have this movie license. To what level can those interact, if any? Then we have the thing where Netflix did an animated Lara Croft series, but now Amazon's doing a live action Lara Croft series. Dude, I mean, it's a nightmare licensing, but
and we still got a couple other game franchises and beloved franchises that might or might not get screwed up by their streaming service, like Mass Effect or Assassin's Creed.
Mass Effect, is that one? Is that Amazon or Netflix? I can't remember.
That's Amazon too.
That's Amazon as well. My hope, something that would fill me with joy, is if the same minds that brought us The Expanse were hired onto that project, the Mass Effect project.
Yes.
That
would make sense.
Yes.
Yeah, Ty Frank, that's who you need on there.
Yeah,
I would. Perfect.
That would make me not worry. That would make me give you the benefit of the doubt until I saw the first episode.
Yeah.
But there we go. So there's a Lara Croft news. What else you got?
The other piece is I've been watching the new season of Strange New Worlds, Star Trek.
You're a Star Trek fan?
Huh?
You're a Star Trek fan?
You're being facetious.
Yeah.
So obviously I'm a huge Star Trek fan.
You are the resident Star Trek historian.
Every movie. The weird thing is I've never been to a convention. I've never cosplayed this. I'm not that guy, but I have watched every show and every movie.
You're just a lore hound.
I've been playing the Star Trek Online game for give or take about 10 years. So I do love the franchise because it does something that no other science fiction franchise does, which is basically give you a microcosm of our society in one little room on a ship, on the bridge of an Enterprise, or in Deep Space Nine, or on the Voyager. But so I've been watching Strange New Worlds, which follows the adventures of Captain Christopher Pike's Enterprise, and this is between Captain Archer and Captain Kirk.
Although this the one that's supposed to be a comedy,
it's not. But does it have comedic moments? Absolutely.
They definitely marketed it as a comedy.
So they have a musical episode, which is wonderful. They have an episode where the guys from Lower Decks, including Jack Quaid, go through a portal and become real life instead of animated. And they show up on the Enterprise. And of course, they're from the way in the future. So that presents a problem. Ethan Peck as Spock is just dead on balls accurate. But I think we're on episode, I want to say 6 of the season. Anyway, it's doing well so far. I've liked every episode except one, and every show does one of these, and I hate it when they do it. Is they have an episode where they're filming it like a documentary, like there's a news crew that's following them around,
like The Office.
And they have to do these like off-scene. Like, I don't know why Captain Pike decided to do that. That was stupid. Why didn't we just fire the photon torpedoes? Or, shit like that. And I hate those episodes. And that was the episode before last. So not a big fan of that one. But we just had an episode, and I don't want to do spoilers, but there was an episode where a bunch of the characters become Vulcans by way of a polyjuice potion that Hermione stirs up. And
crossover we all wanted.
That was without a doubt the funniest episode so far of the entire show, all seasons. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes, man. But I've been enjoying it. It's a good show. Anson Mount is an incredible actor, man.
I've been watching in recent weeks the new, in fact, another episode is tonight, and so I'll have to watch that. The new Peacemaker season 2 series, which is them bringing, because Peacemaker is one of the few characters that's actually crossing over from the previous DCEU to the DCU, and season 1 was very firmly planted in the DCEU, and season 2 is getting him over to the DCU, and it's been very entertaining to see. Or I don't even know for sure if what we've seen is in fact his foot into it, but it's been very interesting to see what they do. It's been fun. That's what I'll say. If you like Peacemaker season 1, I think you'll like Peacemaker season 2. Yeah, then you'll like Peacemaker season 2. It's very funny.
I'm kind of waiting for every episode to be done. So I'm doing the same thing with the Terminal List Dark Wolf. But I know that both of those shows are shows I'm not going to be able to just watch one episode at a time.
I have been waiting for the Terminal List Dark Wolf as well, because those are good. And Peacemaker, every time I actually checked, I'm like, man, these must be half-hour episodes, and they're not. They're not half-hour episodes. They just go by so fast.
Yeah,
that you're like, every time the credits roll, you're like, wait, what? No. So it's been good. I've loved it. So I highly recommend. If you enjoyed Peacemaker season 1, you'll definitely enjoy Peacemaker season 2.
Do they still have the super corny musical dance intro that they had from first season 1? Oh,
yes, they
God.
do. Yes, they do. And David Allen Greer has been introduced now in season 2.
Oh, wow.
Yes, he is an Argus agent, a senior Argus agent whose only weakness is he has the misfortune of the ailment of bird blindness, where every bird looks like every other bird. He can't tell the difference between birds, doesn't know how big they are, small they are. They just all look the same. So that is his.
That's a thing.
That obviously not in real life, but yeah.
Okay, I hope
it's
not.
hilarious. You'll love it. You'll love it. It's so funny.
Okay, I was like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what the relevance of that disorder is, but okay, I'll buy it.
But yeah, so that's what I've been watching when I can. Obviously, I've been busy with real life stuff, and haven't been able to watch a whole lot of stuff there. So, yeah. What any other media stories?
I don't, dude. I looking forward to Predator, obviously, but
super psyched about Predator.
Yeah. I don't know when it comes out. I don't know what the release date is on that.
Let me double check. I believe it's now that you mention it, I believe it may be this week, or not this week, this month.
Are you serious?
It's either that or November. I think it's either September or November. It is releasing November. It's November 7th. Bummer. So yeah, November 7th. Did you get a chance to watch the full Predator Killers?
I did, man, and you were right, and I didn't think I was going to like it. Animation's a weird thing for me because I have to be, I don't know, I have to already be into the franchise, 1, and then 2, I have to buy it after the first episode. I have to be hooked, and this one did, because I mean they started out with that like Viking grandma lady, and I was like, what the hell's going on here? I'm not seeing any indication of a predator. And then I was.
That's what he wants you to think.
Episode. Yeah, I was hooked after the first episode.
Well, so that's just it. Is it's not even episodes; it's a movie, and
yeah.
I love that it was presented. Not to spoil anything, I don't think it's too big of a spoiler, but it's presented as though it is an anthology, only to discover that is in fact not an anthology.
Yeah, that's the way. You're right. That's the best description, because I was like, okay, now we're in this time frame with this dude, and now we're in this, and none of these are okay, I get it now. None of them are related. Oh wait, they're all related.
Turns out, yeah.
So I like that. It really kind of harkened back for me to the Clone Wars before the Clone Wars. Did you ever watch the? So
no,
basically, use the Samurai
I've been told that I need
Jack.
to. The reason that I didn't is because I know that they're just like Firefly. They're not in the right order. Like I know that the order got screwed up when they aired. So I know that maybe they fixed it now on some of the platforms, but I know that originally they were still in the order they aired, not the order that they were actually supposed to happen in.
And dude, they're only like 1:45 to 2.5 minutes a piece. But if you ever pull them up, try to find the one where they're all together, just blended together into one thing. But it sort of reminded, I don't know why I thought of that when I was watching Predator Killers, but I did.
Well, and one thing that I loved about Predator Killers is not only do we get some really interesting stories, like I love the feudal Japan bit. I thought that one was really great. That whole story, and we also really got to learn a lot more about the predators. So we got to see a different predator in each of those stories. And so, like with the Viking, we had a predator that was like missing a hand and had different things, to make up for that lost hand. And he was this big hulking brute. And then in the feudal Japan, you had a much leaner predator with a different set of tools. And I like that. And then towards the end, we get to really see a lot about their culture and their the way that they value strength and how you can earn respect and leadership within their culture. And I don't know, so I'm excited that we got to see our first real taste. I mean, there's plenty of it in books, whether it be comics, novels, whatever. There's plenty of that sort of lore about their culture and all that stuff there. But we've gotten very, very little of it in movies. This is probably about the most that we've ever gotten, and I am very excited to get a whole lot about their culture in Badlands.
Yeah, same. But man, other than that, I don't really have anything. We did have, we have the month of September back to games for a little bit. It's important to note that Hell Is Us, the Indiana Jones DLC, and Hollow Knight Silk Song all came out today.
We also have the big release coming out later this month, which is
of
going
course
to be
is Gloomy Eyes on the
yes,
PS5.
absolutely. Been waiting, but Randy Pitchford just blowing that one up. On Twitter. Yeah, we'll get Borderlands 4 finally.
I'm looking forward to Skate early access on September 16th. As a big fan of the other Skate games, Skates 1 through 3, but
I have heard disappointing things.
Well, I heard it's all based on the art direction though, and which I'm fine with. I've already
I've heard that it's got a lot of it's basically Fortnite with skateboards. That there's a lot of gotcha monetization stuff and things like that in there. Like what we were talking about, where it's like, there's that fine line between, respecting your players and your customers and then treating them as though they're ATMs. And I have heard that this one might be the latter.
Damn it.
Which would suck because Skate was great.
I love Skate. Ghost of Yote on October 2nd. And Borderlands 4 for the people that play on the Switch 2 is releasing on October 3rd.
Curious to see how that'll play on the Switch 2. I mean, the Switch 2 is pretty powerful, more powerful than you'd think. So I do wonder how well that'll play. But I am interested in Borderlands 4. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Obviously, we have had a string of videos thanks to Randy Pitchford and his inability to articulate any sort of positive PR about any game that he's working with. So even though we offered to help Randy, and the offer's still open anytime you want to pop in. We do love you. We have our fun at your expense often. I understand, but we do love you.
Anyway, man, that's all I've got. I'm out.
All right. Well, I have some real life stuff I have to tend to anyway. So thank you everyone for joining us. Yeah, the big thing was going to be 007. That came out yesterday, and this is one that we've been talking about. We've been so excited for it. So we were very excited to finally get a chance to not only see this, but then also watch through it with you guys, talk it out, and kind of like point out the things that we noticed.
Also, folks, if you end up watching this episode, make sure to let us know what you thought of us talking through the dev diary. I think that'd be cool because if fingers crossed, if The Expanse does a similar one, I definitely would like to have an episode where we talk through that, because I think that would be excellent.
Absolutely.
But anyway, thank you all very much. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you. Happy Thursday, guys, and we will see you next week.